There is a $15 can of paint sitting on a hardware store shelf that can cover a wall just as well as the $80 can right next to it. Same hide, same finish, same 2 coats. No expensive brand, no special equipment, no professional painter, and no second trip. The only difference is a tiny trick that takes about 30 seconds to do. A trick the people selling you the $80 can have no reason to ever mention. So here's the question that should bother you. If cheap paint can be made to perform like premium paint for the cost of a few cents of tint, why has nobody ever told you how? Let's find out. To understand the trick, you first have to understand what you're actually paying for when you buy expensive paint. Most people assume a pricey can of paint is better because of some secret quality you can't see. And in one specific way, that's true, but not the way you think. The single thing that separates a cheap white paint from an expensive one, more than almost anything else, is a property called hide. Hide is simply how well the paint covers what's underneath it. A paint with good hide buries the old color in 1 or 2 coats. A paint with poor hide lets the old surface ghost through, forcing you to roll on a coat after coat after coat, burning through cans and hours to get there. Think about the last time you tried to paint a white wall over a dark color, or cover a patch where the old paint showed through. You kept rolling, and the shadow underneath kept bleeding back up at you, no matter how many passes you made. That is poor hide. That maddening, never quite covered feeling is exactly the problem expensive paint is built to solve, and exactly the problem this trick solves for a fraction of the cost. That's the real reason expensive paint costs what it does. The premium products are specially formulated to hide better. They're packed with a careful combination of extra pigment and high-grade chemicals, so they cover a wall in 2 coats instead of 3 or 4. Professionals love them for exactly this reason. A top-grade white can skip an entire coat of work, which on a big job saves serious time and money. Think about what a 3rd coat actually costs a painter. More paint, more hours, more labor, on every single wall of every single room. Cutting that 1 coat is the difference between a job that's profitable and one that drags. That's why the pros happily pay for it. The catch is the price. At today's inflated rates, those top white paints run $80 a gallon or more, which is simply out of a lot of people's budget, especially when a whole house can swallow several gallons. So here's the question the pros quietly answer for themselves. How do you make a cheap, simple white paint hide almost as well as the expensive stuff? And the answer is almost laughably small. It comes down to tint. Now, tint is just the pigment mixture that gets added to paint to give it color. Almost every can of paint you buy already has some tint in it. But here's the part nobody explains. Tint doesn't only change a paint's color, it also changes its opacity, its ability to hide. And that means if you add just the right tiny amount of the right tint to a basic white paint, you can boost how well it covers, without changing the color at all. Here's the exact recipe the pros use. To a single gallon of ordinary white paint, you add 2 ounces of white tint, plus 1/32 of an ounce of black tint. That's it. The white tint is about a shot glass full. The black tint is so small, it's basically a couple of drops from an eyedropper. It is such a tiny amount of black that it will not visibly darken your white paint at all. The volume is simply too small to shift the color your eye sees. Stand back, and it still reads as a clean white. What it does instead is give the paint a touch more opacity and tone. And that small change in opacity is exactly what lets the paint grip a surface and bury what's underneath it. It's a strange thing to wrap your head around, that a couple of drops of black is the secret to a better white. But that is precisely how the chemistry of Hyde works. The result is genuinely impressive. 2 coats of a white paint modified like this will conceal the layers beneath it far better than the same paint straight from the can, even on a project where you're covering a completely different color. In practical terms, you've taken a cheap can of white and made it behave like a premium high Hyde product, the kind that normally costs 3 or 4 times as much. And this works on nearly any white paint you can think of: exterior semi-gloss, flat ceiling white, interior wall paint, all of it. So if this trick is this cheap, this simple, and this effective, why isn't it printed right there on the can? Why doesn't the person at the paint counter lead with it? The honest answer is part business and part practicality. Start with the business. The companies selling premium high Hyde paint have spent a great deal of money formulating a product whose entire selling point is that it covers in 2 coats. That 2-coat coverage is what justifies the $80 price tag. If everyone knew they could get most of the same performance by adding a few cents of tint to a $15 can, a lot of those premium sales would quietly evaporate. There is simply no incentive for the people making the expensive paint to teach you the trick that makes their cheap paint just as good. The premium can got marketed to you. The tint trick did not. But there's a second, more practical reason you've never heard this, and it's the part that actually matters when you go to try it. This trick depends on someone being willing and able to mix those tiny, precise amounts of tint into your can. And that is exactly where the big stores fall short. The large box stores, the giant home improvement chains, generally aren't set up for this kind of small custom mixing. In a lot of cases, their machines or their software simply won't allow it. They're built to pump out standard pre-programmed colors, not to add a shot glass of white and 2 drops of black to a budget can on request. The places that will do it are the dedicated paint stores. The specialty suppliers, the name brand paint shops, and the small mom-and-pop paint stores are far more likely to have both the equipment and the willingness to mix a custom tint for you. They deal with painters and pros all day, so a small custom request doesn't faze them. So the move is simple. Take your cheaper paint line to a real paint store. Ask them to add the 2 ounces of white and the 1/32 ounce of black per gallon, and let their machine do the rest. It costs you almost nothing, and you walk out with a budget can that performs like a premium one. To be fair, there's a reason premium paints still exist and still have their place. The top-grade products do more than just hide well. They also tend to repel moisture and pollutants better, stick to the surface longer, and last more years before they fade or chalk. For a demanding exterior job in harsh weather, that extra durability can genuinely be worth the price. So this trick isn't about pretending expensive paint is a scam. It's about knowing that for a huge number of ordinary jobs, a room, a ceiling, a color change, a repaint, you do not need to pay premium prices to get premium coverage. You just need to know what the pros know. A $15 can that hides like an $80 can sounds too good to be true. But it isn't a trick of marketing, it's a trick of chemistry. One the people selling premium paint had every reason to keep to themselves. And it's just one of many small, almost hidden shortcuts that quietly save ordinary people real money on the jobs they do every day, sitting in plain sight. waiting for someone to actually stop and explain them. If that's the kind of thing you want more of, then subscribing is the simplest way to keep it finding you. And the next time someone tells you that good coverage means buying the most expensive can on the shelf, you'll know exactly what to do instead. We'll see you in the next one.